La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah. La ilaha illallah Muhammad is his messenger. Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah. La ilaha illallah Muhammad is his messenger. Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah 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 Muhammadur Rasulullah. Takbir,
Allahu Akbar.
takbir,
Allahu Akbar.
takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Let's bring someone downstairs. Inshallah. You have to read Al-Quran so that your voice will be brilliant to it. You are so handsome. Move a little bit further. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. My dear brothers and sisters, we are ready to start our program of the day, inshallah. We kindly request you to come to our meeting room. We request you to come to meeting room, inshallah. Our guest speaker is here and waiting for you to listen to him, inshallah. Half of the brothers come to the front line as mujahideen, and half of the sisters stay behind as the backup, inshallah. Yes, all brothers request to be in the front, because when we die to see Allah, we see Allah first. Inshallah, when you are here, our children will start the day with the recitation of Al-Quran and have some short nasheed to share with you, inshallah. While we are waiting for you, they will sing Shahada nasheed for you, inshallah. Together. Wahid, Ithnan, Thalatha. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah. La ilaha illallah Muhammad is his messenger. Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Takbir!
Allahu Akbar.
Inshallah, we ask the brothers and sisters to sing along with our children so that people outside can come and with the motivation, inshallah. Okay, we go together. I think probably not be too difficult for you to sing. Inshallah. Stand up straight. I want you to sing. Make oh Allah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitan. I hope the camera not roll yet. You can see we just got them up from bed. Okay, inshallah. The brothers, inshallah, will sing with us. Okay, because it's the best song ever made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The best word, shahada. واحد اثنان you have to sing واحد اثنان ثلاثة لا
إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله لا إله إلا الله
محمد رسول الله لا إله إلا الله
محمد إله إلا الله
Muhammad is his
messenger محمد رسول الله
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله لا إله إلا الله
محمد رسول الله
There is no God
but Allah
لا إله إلا الله
محمد رسول الله لا إله إلا الله
محمد رسول الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله There is no God but Allah لا إله إلا الله Muhammad is his messenger Muhammad Rasulullah La ilaha illallah
محمد رسول الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله
Takbir
الله أكبر
Takbir
الله أكبر
Takbir
الله أكبر
Sheikh Siraj Wahaj always say takbir very loud. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah. The children will read Ayatul Kursi for the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أعوذ بالله
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم
ولا يحيطون بشيء
من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض
ولا يؤوده حفظهما
وهو العلي العظيم صدق الله العظيم
Insyaallah. Okay. Alif Ba Alif
ألف
Ba
باء
Ta
تاء
Tha Jim
جيم
Ha
هاء
Kha
خاء
Dal
دال
Za
دال
Ra
راء
Zai
زين
Sin
Sin.
Sheen.
Chin.
Sad.
Rod.
Bad.
Bod.
Pa.
Ba.
Ra.
Da.
Ain.
Nine.
Ghain.
Gai.
Fa.
Ka.
Qaf.
Kaf.
Kaf.
Ka.
Lam.
La.
Mim.
Mim.
Noon.
Wa.
Noon.
Nu.
Wow.
Wow.
Ha. Lam alif.
Lamai.
Hamzah.
Hamza.
Ya.
Yeah.
Wassalamu.
Wassalam.
Wassalamu. 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 Alif ba ta tha jim ha
Ha.
dal dal ra zai sin shin sa
Da. Da. La.
ain ghain fa
Kaf. Kaf.
lam mim nun ha waw ya. Wassalamu.
Wassalamu.
Wassalamu. Wassalamu. Alif ba ta tha jim ha kha dal dal ra zai sin shin sa صاد طاء عين عين تاء قاف كاف لام ميم نون ها واو يا والسلام 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 بخير والسلام بخير
Wassalamu bil khairi.
Inshallah, this is the last one for this morning. Inshallah, children will go and play. Inshallah, Allah. Who is your Lord?
Allah.
Who is your God?
Allah.
Who is your Creator?
Allah.
Allahu Rabbi.
Allahu Rabbi. Allahu Rabbi.
Allah, ya Allah, ya Allahu Rabbi.
Ya Allah.
Rabbi. Allah is my God.
Allah is my God.
Allahu Rabbi. Allahu Rabbi. Ya Allah. Ya Allah. Ya Allah Rabbi. Ya Allah Rabbi. Allah is my God. Allah is my God. Allahu Rabbi. Allahu Rabbi. Ya Rahman. Ya Rahim.
Ya Rahman. Ya Rahim.
Ya Rahman. Ya Rahim. Allah is compassionate. Allah is merciful. Allahu Rabbi. Allahu Rabbi. Ya Allah. Ya Allah. Ya Allahu Rabbi. Ya Allahu Rabbi. Allah is
Love thy God.
Allah is my Lord. Takbir.
The sisters who are going to help in babysitting, please, we need you with us downstairs. Then for our kids. Yeah, but there is some kind of noise. I'll try to use the other mic to see if I can help Safa, Marwa, go downstairs, okay?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. For the sake of our consultation with our guests and for the benefit of our children, we request the parents to send all the children downstairs for the Islamic study class. We have class for junior and senior class, inshallah. For the brothers and sisters, you can pay attention to our Sheikh Siraj Wahaj of his talk. Please send the children downstairs. We have class on the spirit of the month of Ramadan, inshallah.
You have your watch? You need to stay on one more day.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا تجد له وليا ولا هاديا مرشدا. We would like to welcome brother Siraj Wahaj and his son, and inshallah we would like to thank him also for coming to Kansas City and joining us in this program. And I think all of you know brother Siraj Wahaj, but for those who don't know him, we would like to introduce him. He's the Imam of Masjid al-Taqwa in Brooklyn, New York, and he's also in ISNA Shura Council, and he has been recently appointed as a member of the board of NAID, North American Islamic Trust, or Amana. He teaches also a class of Islamic Studies in Howard University, and he's also well known for anti-drug patrol in Brooklyn, New York. And inshallah, regarding this issue, experience, the practical experience of da'wah, anti-drug, he will cover this topic maybe in his second session. But in this session of the morning, he will talk about perception of Americans to religion, means of communication. And the format of the lecture, he will talk for almost 30 to 40 minutes, and then we open the floor for discussion. And then start with brother Siraj Wahaj.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمد عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Brothers and sisters, it gives me a great pleasure. I'm thankful to Allah the Almighty for giving me the opportunity one more day to worship Him, to do ibadah. I came to Kansas City from San Francisco. We had some very successful meetings, alhamdulillah. We spoke at a number of universities. We spoke, had conferences with law enforcement. We spoke to Muslim communities. And I'm thankful for Allah the Almighty for giving me this opportunity to share with you some of our experiences. I want to begin by saying what I am not. I am not a faqih. In the context of my talk is not as a Muslim scholar. I don't consider myself as a Muslim scholar. At best, I consider myself a student of Islam. I feel grateful that Allah has given me some experiences, and I just want to share them with you. I'm very interested to talk about the topic that has been given to me in context of our work in America. I want to remind you, brothers and sisters, that we as Muslims here in this part of the world have an agenda. As everyone has an agenda, we have an agenda too. Our agenda is the agenda of Allah and His Messenger Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. In everything that we do, we must keep in context of that. What are we trying to do as Muslims? And what we're not trying to do is to assimilate into the American way. We're not trying to be like other Americans. That's not our agenda. But our agenda is to give the Americans a guidance. I am myself an American citizen. I was born in this country. born through Christian parents, and I was blessed by Allah to accept the religion of Islam, and I began my quest in around 1969, and I continued to develop, inshallah, to now we believe in Islam as we understand, taught by us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Quran and through His Messenger Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. I'm very honored to be here and to share this experience with you. I want to say this, brothers and sisters, that before I begin, that Islam is not a popularity contest. Our book is not How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I fear many Muslims are into that, trying to make friends. It is nice if people become friendly toward us, but our objective is to give the truth. And everything in America, to me, represents nothing more than an opportunity for Muslims to bring some aspect of Islam to the people. We want the people to accept this deen, and we have to do it the right way, inshallah. One thing you can know about America, that America is not monolithic. And that means that every American is not exactly the same. And so it's very difficult to say how the Americans think about any particular topic. But there is one thing that is a common thread through America in terms of religion. And that is the concept of freedom of religion. It's a very sticky issue with American people, that people must have the right and the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, and the freedom of press. I'm going to talk about that, inshallah, in my conversation. There is no one religious belief in this country. Even though this country is dominated by Christians and Jews, even among the Christian religion, there are up to 1,000 different denominations, beginning with the Catholics. There are more Catholics in this country than any other Christian sect or Christian denomination. There are, in fact, about 900 million Catholics throughout the world. By far the first one, the top. Then you have the Baptists, you have the Protestants, you have the Lutherans, and so forth and so on, until about maybe 1,000 different denominations. But one thing about the Americans, you find out that they had a kind of common history. And the history that they come from Europe, they come from a place where they had little religious tolerance. And they lived in a time they called the Inquisition. And in the Inquisition was a time where the Christian population in many parts of the world dominated the people and made the people, forced the people to adhere to their religious way of life. Even if you study the history, the Moors, who were Muslims, were forced into Christianity by the Christians. Many other Christians were tortured during this period of Inquisition, where there was little tolerance for people's religion. And so when the Americans came here to this part of the world, they wanted to make sure that the people have their freedom of religion. And so therefore when they formed the Constitution of the United States of America, in the famous amendments called, the first 10 amendments called the Bill of Rights, they included in that, especially the First Amendment, the freedom of religion, the freedom of the press, and the freedom of speech. And they made sure that there was a separation between the church and the state. They didn't want the church to dominate the state, nor did they want one particular religion over another religion to have more of an opportunity in this country, so therefore they, in theory, made all the religions the same. And because of that, every religion can thrive in this country. And so you see the rise of Islam in this country. It is in fact because of the freedom of religion that Muslims can expand in this country, so that the fastest growing religion in this country is Islam. No comparison. While other religions like Christianity are losing its adherents, its followers, Islam is growing. and now they say 6 million Muslims in America. And we read a magazine article about a year ago that suggested that maybe by the year 2000 something that the Muslims will be the largest minority in America, the largest religious minority in America. I want to let you know, brothers and sisters, that already exists. And they know it. That's just propaganda. They're telling you soon it's going to be like that. That's to alert the people, but there's already that. Muslims are this, after Christianity, the next highest, the most populated religion is Islam in this country, for sure. Now, I'm going to discuss something with you because, brothers and sisters, everything I see is in relationship to our work here. And so therefore, this topic that you gave me is in relationship to our work. Something happened about a year and a half ago that got the attention of the American and, in fact, the international media. And that was the coming of the book, The Satanic Verses, by a man named Salman Rushdie. Oh, Muslims got excited. This guy wrote this horrible book, and then it defamed the Messenger of Allah, Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. It defamed the Prophet Ibrahim, the wives of the Prophet, and the companions alayhi salatu wasalam, and radiallahu anhu. And Muslims got very excited. And when it first came out, I got together with some of the Muslim leadership, and I was happy. I said, oh, this is a great opportunity for us. Salman Rushdie was nothing more than an opportunity for us to do the work in Islam. And you must do it the right way. You must go about it the right way, otherwise it's going to backfire. I told some of our Muslim leaders, I said, believe me, soon, Ted Koppel of Nightline is going to call us up and say, please, we want you to come on the program and tell us about this Salman Rushdie. It's a great opportunity for us. Now, brothers and sisters, let me digress for a moment, if you mind, to give you an analogy. Right before I started this lecture, I was looking out the window, and sure enough, my son is out there playing basketball. I thought he would be here listening to the lecture, but I guess he heard enough of me. He's been traveling with me in Los Angeles and San Jose and Santa Clara, and so I guess he's like tired. But the moment he got a break, he's out there now playing basketball. And he watched me, he was looking at me watching him. But anyway, I wanted to tell you something about basketball. I used to play basketball. I love basketball. I used to love basketball. Well, I still like basketball. and when you play any sport, it's always offense and defense. You try to score a point, and you try to stop your opponents from scoring a point. Offense and defense. Now, sometimes as a strategy, your opponents will try to press you, which means to put force on you. Now, your objective is to go on the other side to score a point, and they have to stop you from scoring. So what they do sometimes is they put a lot of pressure on you. It's called a full court press. Now, coaches use two strategies to break a full court press. Most of them, they're kind of very conservative. You pass the ball slowly, and you move, keep throwing the ball around, trying to get the pressure off you, step by step by step, until you go on the other side, and then the pressure is released. This is one way. This is a very conservative way. But I had a coach, when I used to play basketball for New York University, I had a coach who was very aggressive. And he had, I thought, a marvelous idea and strategy. Whenever someone puts a full court press on you, instead of being passive, you should be aggressive and actually use that as an opportunity to score a point. So he didn't pass the ball bit by bit. No, what he did, he sent one of our offensive players long, and we threw the ball down there, and sure enough, he scored the point. And so that when the enemy comes to pressure you, you don't react in a passive way, but you react in an aggressive way, and actually you score points. Now, I say that to say that I have taken from that strategy and incorporated in our Islamic work. See, most Muslims in this country, from my opinion, whenever we are attacked by people, non-Muslims, what we do, we take the defensive. You know, I was in a university called Stanford University, And someone said in the question and answer period, but what about the Muslim women in America, Muslim women throughout the world? They are oppressed. And you know, always everywhere you go, they talk about Muslim women in Islam. But Muslim women in Islam, they are oppressed. And you know what I said? I said, no, it is the women in the West that are oppressed. And automatically I put them on the defensive. Well, what do you mean by that? And I said, do you know that there are 21,000 women in America that are raped every year? And all of a sudden I put them on the defensive. You understand? Because you don't have to, I don't think Muslim women are oppressed. No, I won't. No, you act weak and like weak. You know, no. You go on the offensive. When they put you on the defense, don't stop acting defensively. But go on the offense. Now, I'm coming back to Salman Rushdie. All of this relates to our topic. Now, brothers and sisters, I'm going to give you an opportunity in the question and answer period. What I'm going to say may be controversial to many of you, and many of you may get excited. But don't get excited. Let me tell you something. We made some major blunders. Muslims made some major blunders with this thing, Salman Rushdie. And it's important for me to talk about it now because there's going to be more. There's going to be more. That's not the last of it. And I'll tell you why later that's not going to be the last of it. We made some major blunders. You see, brothers and sisters, Muslims now need wisdom. We need wisdom. We need vision and we need insight. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وَأُدْعُوا إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ بِالْحِكْمَةِ وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Call to the way of thy Lord with wisdom and beautiful preaching, and argue with them in ways that are best. Now, hikmah is not left to the discretion of people. Wisdom is not left to your discretion what wisdom is. Allah is Al-Hakim, He's wise. And we're very, very foolish. Now, there are a lot of Muslims and a lot of people who have a lot of information, who have a lot of knowledge, but few have understanding, and very few, precious few, have wisdom. I'll give you an example. To me, one of the most fascinating stories is the story of two women who each had a child, a baby. And a wolf came and took one of the babies from the woman. And the woman whose baby was taken, the older woman, she told the younger woman, said, look, the wolf took your baby. And the younger woman said, no, the wolf took your baby. And so they took their case to Prophet Dawood, alayhi salatu wasalam. And Dawood himself was wise. He gave the judgment for the older woman. For whatever reason, he gave the judgment for this particular woman. He said, the baby belongs to you. Now, the real mother, whose baby was given to the other woman, she didn't accept the judgment of Dawood. So she went to Sulayman, his son. And so they both went. And so Sulayman said, I know what I will do. Bring me a knife. I will cut the baby in half and give one half to the younger woman and one half to the older woman. The real mother said, subhanallah, the baby belongs to her. And Sulayman said, no, the baby belongs to you. Why? Because Sulayman was wise in human nature. He knew the real mother would never allow her child to die, so he recognized that woman wanting to spare her own child was willing to give it up. And so Sulayman, with wisdom, made the right judgment. Brothers and sisters, we need wisdom. I was on a national television program, and they asked me about Salman Rushdie, about him slandering Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Did he have a right to do that? You know what I said on national TV? I said, I support the right of Salman Rushdie to make a fool out of himself. I said it that way. Because that's what he did. He made a fool out of himself. But in that television program and other interviews that were done, I did not say that Salman Rushdie should be killed. Now, some Muslims, they got angry at me. Brother Siraj, you should have said on national TV, yes, the man should be killed. He slandered the messenger, he slandered this and that, we should kill him. I said, you're so foolish. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us an opportunity to go on Nightline to talk about Islam. I said to them, if you give me some time on Nightline, and they have this guy, Salman Rushdie, and he talks about his book. And if you ask me, what about this man who said this about Prophet Muhammad? I would say, to the millions of Americans who are listening or watching on TV, I would say, if you knew this man, Prophet Muhammad, you would love him. This person, Salman Rushdie, has made Prophet Muhammad to look like a bad man. But in fact, if the millions of Americans knew how great he was, how beautiful he was, and then I would begin to show how beautiful Prophet Muhammad is. And when would they have gotten that opportunity to go on national airline and to talk about Islam and to talk about Prophet Muhammad and to talk about Allah and to talk about the messengers of Allah? Meanwhile, they flash across the nation. Muslims call for the death of Salman Rushdie. Muslims put a price tag on the head of Salman Rushdie. Muslims blow up a press who had a favorable editorial about Salman Rushdie. Muslims blow up a bookstore that sold the books, satanic verses written by Salman Rushdie. This is very, very, very bad. And brothers and sisters, we didn't need it. And you did more harm. We did more harm to Islam than we did good on Allahu Alam. Now, in New York City, when this whole thing came out, there were some authors, writers, headed by a man named Norman Mailer. He's a famous author, and other so-called intellectuals. They had a public reading of Salman Rushdie's book, Satanic Verses, to show their support for him. Now, instead of getting excited, what we did, we contacted these people. There were about maybe 13 of them. And we called them up and said, let's have a meeting. And they did. We met in Manhattan in one of their homes. And it was about seven Muslims and about 13 of them, including some lawyers and other people. Even people from, I think it was Penguin Press. Yeah. And so we sat down. And you know what we discovered? The first thing that we discovered is that none of these authors who had a public reading of some of the works of Salman Rushdie, none of them read the book. Which was shocked us. And they admitted. We asked each one of them, and they said, no, we didn't read the book. And you know what happened? When we gave our side of the story, they felt so embarrassed. They felt as if they had been used. And they wanted to undo what they had done. And they wished that we had spoken to them before. And what did they do? We had a joint press conference. I think we met maybe on a Tuesday. And on Friday, we had a joint press conference. And do you know, they called it. They called the press. Every major network in the country was there. Every newspaper, magazines. I mean, we had to get a big room in one of the hotels. Interestingly enough, and what they did there is they, didn't 100% denounce what they had done, but really they wanted to make amends, and they said, now we understand the positions of the Muslims. And by the way, at that meeting, Salman, what's his name, Arthur Mala, he said to me, he says, Mr. Wahaj, as a result of what you guys are saying here, I'm getting closer to Islam. Debate, talk, back and forth. And so the press covered it. Now the press didn't give the big coverage as they did when Muslims did something negative, because that's the nature of some press, and I'll talk about that later on also. That's the nature of some press. But the point is, we were able to do something because we took our ability to communicate with the people and to express our ideas without intimidating them. Okay, now brothers and sisters, let me go to my major point here. You see, the Americans will always react against you if you try to force them to do something. You see, their freedom of religion, freedom of the press, and freedom of speech is almost a religion in itself. They pride themselves in that. That people be given the opportunity to express themselves. And because of that, Muslims
Muslims now can do in this country what we cannot do in other countries. Let us be honest with each other. Now, let me talk to you now. I just came back from Saudi Arabia like 2 weeks ago and made Umrah, alhamdulillah. Now you tell me I can go to Saudi Arabia and give a khutbah in any masjid I want to and give the khutbah on any topic I want to give it on? Tell me I can. You mean to tell me I can go to Egypt and I can give a khutbah in Egypt about any topic I want to give it on? Can I do that in Egypt? Can I do it in Libya? Can I do it in Syria? Can I do it in Jordan? No, we got to talk to one another. See, so my point is, brothers and sisters, you see, then we have to look at Islamic position. Now, alhamdulillah, you know, I notice about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Islam, Muslims can thrive in any kind of environment. I'll tell you what I mean. Islam has grown so rapidly in this country where they have freedom of religion. But check this out. It's also grown in the Soviet Union, in a place where they were oppressed and repressed. 55 million Russians, so-called Russians, are Muslims. And it is said by the turn of the century, 10 years from now, the 1/4 of the population of the Soviet Union will be Muslims. Of the 15 republics, did I say 15? 15. No. Of the 14 republics now in the Soviet Union, 6 of them are dominated by Muslims. You are seeing some mountain changes happening in the Soviet Union right now. I read some of the statistics about the rate of increase of the Muslims as compared to the other populations. Unbelievable. And now, alhamdulillah, for the first time, they can read the Quran openly. And I read, alhamdulillah, that Saudi Arabia had printed up 1 million copies of the Quran to be distributed in the Soviet Union. But look, Islam grows in America, a place of freedom, and Islam grows in a place, in the Soviet Union, a place of repression. Islam can grow anywhere. But Muslims must take advantage wherever they are. They have to know the society to know how to move. This is why it's important that every Muslim who goes to a particular nation should consult the indigenous Muslims of that particular area. You have to do it. Now, if I was going to the Philippines, and you know Muslims, there are a large population of Muslims in the Philippines, and they're suffering there. And if you want to talk about the growth and development of the Muslims in the Philippines, then you have to talk to the Muslims, the indigenous Muslims there, to find out how you move in this particular society. So there, brothers and sisters, in my conclusion, I want to say this, that we have a marvelous opportunity here in America to spread Islam, alhamdulillah. Allah has given us a marvelous opportunity. And I think that we ought to rise to the challenge. I feel so good that Allah has given us this magnificent opportunity, to spread Islam. And when you go to a prison in this country, dominated by people in prison, do you know that there are 672,000 prisoners in America? 672,000 prisoners in America. And it's increasing. From 1980 to 1990, the prison population has increased 90%. There's so many new prisoners coming in now that 800 new beds a week are needed just to house the prisoners. Every year in this country, almost 8 million people are arrested. And so right now, do you know, brothers and sisters, that if you have some Muslims in prison, then the government must allow you to send a chaplain in there that is paid for by the state. So now you have Muslim full-time chaplains in the prison system. You have Muslims full-time chaplains in the hospitals. Do you know that there are Christians and Jews who are paid money to go to the hospital to visit other Christians and Jews? And the same thing for Islam. Once you understand that, once you know, once you apply. And the same thing in the police force. Do you know that they have chaplains in the police force? Do you know they have chaplains in the army? That they will pay you a salary to service the Muslims in the army, the Muslims in the police, the patients in the hospitals, the prisoners in prison. So Muslims must begin to understand every segment of the society and get involved and to give the da'wah, inshallah. So brothers and sisters, we need to take advantage in the schools, educationally. Now I want to say this, may Allah bless Brother Abdul Munim and the others for the Islamic school that you have here. I am very, very happy, and anytime I see Muslim students learning about Islam, singing Islamic songs, growing and developing, I love it. And we must be very supportive. And you know, brothers and sisters, I want to just take a minute to say this, that Islamic and any kind of education is very expensive. The reason, one of the reasons that this country is successful in some degree is because of the amount of money that they spend on its education. The American government allocates $24 billion a year toward education. That's just on a federal level, but in each state they allocate billions of dollars just for education. You see, and even the education in the public schools are free. But I want to show you something. Does anyone know the oldest college in this country? Anybody know? Huh? I think I heard it. Harvard, that's right. Who said Harvard? Harvard. Who said Harvard? Who said it? Oh, I thought someone said Harvard. Well, the answer is Harvard. And do you know the tuition for Harvard University? Huh? It's about $14,000-15,000 just for the tuition alone. I'm not talking about room and board. It's about $14,000-15,000 a year. But I'm gonna tell you something that you didn't know. As expensive as it is, and that's one of the most prestigious universities in America, Harvard University. When you say I graduated from Harvard, then that's like prestige, huh? But do you also know that they have a $4 billion endowment fund? Which means what happens, people, before they die, they bequeath their wealth to go to this school. And they got over $4 billion in an endowment fund of which they can draw from. Not only that, last year, they got another $122 million that were donated by the American people for that school. So you see, brothers and sisters, if you're going to be successful with education, you have to pour in lots of money. You can't expect an Islamic school to thrive if you don't put money in it. You got to pour money, and no Islamic school can survive off of tuition alone. I believe that Islamic education, especially the lower ages, should be free. But we can't afford to do it free yet, until all the Muslims are taxed, and that tax money goes to pay for the education of our children. That's what it's going to have to be. It must be that way. That's the only way that we're going to strive. Inshallah, we have to put education as a top priority among us. We must do it in order to compete in this society. So brothers and sisters, in my conclusion, right now, the atmosphere, in my opinion, is ripe for da'wah in America. It is absolutely ripe. All we have to do now is to compete. فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. Strive all together toward all that is good. As strive all together as in a race, as you know, as Yusuf Ali says, as in a race. فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. Strive together, compete with one another toward all that is good. Do you know, brothers and sisters, communism used to be a major enemy to the American people. And you can rally up the people talking about communists, you know. They had all kinds of things, you know, fighting against the communists. But now, with communism not so much as a threat, we said years ago that the biggest threat to the world is not the communists, but it's Islam. Gorbachev, the one that you're all very happy about. Oh, Gorbachev is so nice. He's become a democracy. You know, he made a statement about Islam, about it being one of the biggest dangers of the world. And he didn't make that so long ago. He understands that Islam, you know, really could be, how should I say, a real competitor. But let me tell you, aside from Islam, do you know right now, they had a survey recently I was reading about Americans, and they asked them the question that now that the communists are not the big threat, who is the biggest threat? Do you know what the average American said? Anybody like to guess? Jews know. Huh? Dope? What? Yeah, but as a people, I mean, as people. As people. Huh? Middle East? No, they didn't say the Middle East, surprisingly. Huh? Germans? Germany was number 2. Believe it or not, hold on. Yes, that's right, brother. Yes. Germany was number 2 because the threat of East and West Germany coming together, you know, people, they look at things economically. And they know that if East and West Germany come together, there will be a strong economic force, and people are afraid of that. So that was the number 2 fear of people. The first fear, they said, was actually Japan, the Japanese. And brothers and sisters, subhanAllah, I just left San Francisco, and you know, the Japanese have bought up a lot of property, a lot of businesses in San Francisco and also New York City. They came in quietly, efficiently, effectively, making no noise, but before you knew, they bought this building there, bought a building there, bought some real estate there, bought a business there, and before you know, my God, where are these people coming from? Yes. And I'm saying, good. That's a sign for us, because what? The nature of the system of America is you can come in and compete. This is good. Because that's a good opportunity for Muslims. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. You are the best of people evolved for mankind. You enjoying what is good, you forbid what is evil, and you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why not let us compete with them on every level? We want to produce a school in America, a university, better than Harvard, better than Yale, better than Princeton, better than any university they have in this country. And we want to produce economics. In economic system, we want to be strong. We don't only want to be strong religiously. No, we want to be strong religiously. This is our base. But we also want to be strong economically. We want to be strong politically for the agenda of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, brothers and sisters, the people in this society, they made the mistake. They got religion out of the state. But some of us are taking the state out of the religion. But Islam, we're religious, and we're political, and we involved in economics. But you have to do it for the right reason. You do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, Islam can thrive in the society. How do the American people think? Many of them religious. Some are not. They're not monolithic. Everybody don't think alike. But all of them will protect the religion of freedom, the religion of the press, and the religion of speech. Once the Muslims know that, they then know how to react and interact without assimilating, but interacting, and interact upon them, and to bring them into Allah's deen, inshaAllah. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Now, what time is it now? It's 10 o'clock now?
10.
10.
We have 25
How much time do we have for questions and answers?
We have 25 minutes.
We have, can we have some,
More?
no, can we have some discussion? Let's have some discussion.
We should have time.
And anybody who said the wrong thing, I'm going to put them out. Of course, that's a joke, right? Brothers, because that's my point. And when I say open discussion, I mean open discussion. We should be able to criticize anyone We should be able to criticize anyone. Before you criticize me, I want to recommend a kind of book for all of you to get. I want everyone to get it. I bought here a copy so you can see it. It's called The World Almanac. One of the most important books you can get it every year, the latest copy of the World Almanac. And what this thing does, it gives you all kinds of statistics. For instance, take the state of Missouri. What's the population of the state of Missouri? Who's the governor? Who's in the legislature? Things like that. What kind of economics in this country? What kind of economics in, for instance, in the Caribbean, in every country? It got some very good points. You need to know this. It gives you the breakdown of the religions in this country, the religions around the world. Any World Almanac, they have about 3 or 4 different companies that produce it. Get one every year. Keep it on your shelf and always refer to it. It's a wonderful book to have. In addition, I bought, brother, could you do me a favor? Over there, about 7 books. Yeah. Just hand me one of them, please. Thank you. Yeah. I brought this book back to me also. Now, I mean, I may get in trouble by the organizers because I didn't take their permission. I'm really sorry. But I guess I'm taking advantage. May Allah forgive me. It's commercial. This is a commercial. But it's an important commercial. This is a book called The Ansar Cult in America. To me, one of the most important books written of our time. It's written by a friend of mine named Bilal Phillips. He's African American who lives in Riyadh now, Saudi Arabia. And he did a study of several groups in America, including the Nation of Islam, headed down by a man named Minister Louis Farrakhan, Salman Rushdie, who is now deceased, and also a group called the Ansar Allah. Have you seen these people? These people with white robes, and you see them in many of the major cities of the country. But anyway, this book is specifically written about these people. And I'm telling you why he did it, why he wrote the book. These people are growing fast. Years ago, I was part of the group called the Nation of Islam years ago. When I first opened up, I said that I started Islam around 1969. Actually, I wasn't a so-called Sunni Muslim then. I was in this group that are referred to as black Muslims, or the Nation of Islam. And alhamdulillah, years later, we developed more and more in Islam. But people ignored the group as it began to grow. And then it became very, very extensive, very large, very big. And now Muslims are doing the same thing with this group here. This brother wanted to write a book about this and at the same time write about Islam. This group is growing fast throughout America, but now this brother wrote a book, and like for instance, in the beginning chapter, he says, what is Tawheed, or the oneness of Allah? How do Muslims understand Tawheed? And he quotes ayahs from Quran and Hadith. And this other group, he says, this is what they believe about Tawheed and how it differs from the Islam. So when you read this book, if you know nothing about Islam, you will learn about Islam. If you don't know about the deviant groups in Islam, you will learn about the deviant groups in Islam. And this book teaches you how to be aware about from these deviant groups. Now, brothers and sisters, I want everyone to take a copy of the book. I bought 64, 70, maybe 70, only 72. I want you to take every one. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. If you want to leave a donation, we accept a donation of $5 to help us to continue to reproduce the book. We've given many of them free. So we need your help. You can't all take it free. If you can give a donation of $5 per book, we appreciate it. If you don't have any money, you can take it free. But I don't want to take any books back with me. I want you to take every one of them, take it, and give what you can. If you want to take 3 or 4, to give them to some, especially non-Muslims, please give it to them. Help us to propagate this. We are trying to distribute 1 million copies throughout America. Alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed us now, and in many parts we've distributed this book. Again, brother who bought the case, could you please put them up there, and you can go back there before you leave today and pick up this book. It's called The Ansar Cult. Again, if you can give a donation of $5, do it. If you can't, do what you can. If you can give nothing, take the book anyway. Jazakallah khair for my commercial. And now, brothers and sisters, feel free. Know some of you have questions and statements to make. Let me see your hands. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if you want, sisters, if you raise your hand, it's okay, I'll accept you. Or if you want to write them down, brothers or sisters, whatever is more comfortable to you, I want you to be able to express yourself. Now, so now the organizers didn't tell me that I couldn't take questions from the floor, but I'm going to take them from the floor anyway.
No, openly. It is our policy.
Yes. Yeah. Walaikum salam.
I'm glad you said we could make statements, because I didn't really have a question, but I wanted to make a comment on something that you said. And that was the point that you made about how Americans see freedom of religion. Many Americans themselves don't know that when the founders of the country were forming the country, they themselves fought and argued about the concept of freedom of religion.
Yes.
And they labored very hard to bring about the understanding that they had about freedom of religion. And this is very important in understanding Americans and how they see religion. So, you know, alhamdulillah, I'm glad you made that point. And I also think that your point about the situation being right for dawah is very much true, you know, very much.
Thank you very much. And I want to mention this too, brothers and sisters. I'm glad, thank you for that comment, brother. You see, the founding fathers of this country, one of the things that they did with the Constitution, they recognized their limitation as human beings. And therefore they put in a provision in the Constitution, which they bore witness was man-made. They put a provision in that Constitution to make for revisions, amendments, or to repeal something. In fact, for your records, it's good to know this, that in 1919, the 18th amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America made it illegal to manufacture, to sell, and to transport intoxicating drinks. It was once unconstitutional in this country in 1919. 14 years later, in 1933, with the 21st Amendment of the United States of America, they repealed that, which means that now it became legal again to produce and to sell and to transport alcohol. So it's good to know this, and that's good, because that shows you a kind of flexibility that they have, that if you can convince them, and that's why I think the arena is, brothers and sisters, the arena today is in debate, and not a show of force. In this country, the arena is on debate, and it's good to debate them on the floors of the Senate, and Congress, and everywhere you can debate them. So now Muslims must begin to articulate the concerns of the society, whether it's abortion, whether it's AIDS, whether it's teenage pregnancy, whether it's homelessness or things like that. Muslims must study, know the issues, and then see the opportunity to bring Islam into those issues. This is to me, our great challenge that we have, to know the issues, to study the issues, and come from an Islamic perspective, and at the same time, inshallah, make converts to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, brother.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Jazakallah khair for this speech. I always enjoy your talks, by the way.
Alhamdulillah.
You talked about the Salman Rushdie's case. Well, sometimes negative incidents usually give positives.
Okay.
Before Khomeini died, he put this price tag on Khomeini's Salman Rushdie's head. He said 5 million, or some others started increasing it. But I thought this is the best thing happened for this case, having this price tag. I remember when this book first came out, very little people knew about it.
That's right.
And I remember one of the brothers in Colombia brought a flyer and distributed it. Some people read it, some didn't. And it took almost more than a month or two for people to know about it. Not even ISNA. We didn't hear much about it from them. And nothing in the media about it. Until this thing happened. Khomeini woke up someday and or somebody gave him this news, and he said, well, this should be killed. I'm not advocating this way. I'm not saying this is good to kill everybody who talks or writes. But this was a negative way that made everybody awake. In Islamic centers and nations and individuals start writing and newspapers start sending, and only at that time Ted Koppel got in touch with the ISNA after he heard that.
Yes.
Now that is a negative thing, but we got advantage of it. I'm just assuming now, if Khomeini didn't do that, the case would have went smooth, and some demonstrations would have happened.
Let's discuss it for 1 second. Let me. Your point is well taken. Well taken. Let me just add this dimension, and let's go further with this. Right. First of all, as Muslims, let's go to the ayat of the Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. They plan, and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. I agree with you. Oftentimes,
That's a part of Allah's plan too.
Yes. Let me make my point now, right? Because we have a job as human beings. Allah is going to do His plan. We don't know what it is, but Allah will do His plan. Now, our job is this. This is the thing I'm concerned with as human beings, right? Not let things happen chaotically. Okay? Not sit back and let things happen, and then we say, MashaAllah. Yes, whatever happens is MashaAllah, right? But now I'm saying as Muslim leaders and strategists, we now must look at a particular situation, right? And we say, take Salman Rushdie. We get together, the leadership gets together. How can we take advantage of this negative? We look and we strategize and say, you know something? If we mobilize our people, get hundreds of thousands of Muslims on the streets, what could happen is this. The sales of the book will increase and more Americans will read it. Whereas if you make no noise, maybe very few Americans would have read it. And by the way, this is our belief, that had we not made the noise, very few people would have read it, because even the people, they told us that they said that this book is unreadable. Even after the Muslims made all the noise, the people got the book, they didn't read it. They kept it on their shelf. And they kind of bought it as like a protest. But you can't read the book. Very few, I'm one of the crazy people who read it, or read a lot of it, because I had to find out what the issues was if I was going to speak effectively about it, right? So my point is this. I agree with you. Sometimes something negative, and what we always have to do, we must use vision and insight to say, well, what can we get out of it? It's going this way right now, what can we get out of it? So I don't want to now, for instance, say, well, such person did a good thing. Maybe Allah blessed us, it came out good, but we should now strategize and plan things rather than let things happen, haphazardly. But your point is well taken that sometimes negative things can bring about very good things, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. I think we had brother here, this, and then I'm going to read this another one. Oh, yes, brother. Good. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa
Are you
alaikum
going to
salam.
answer some of the questions from the floor first, or what?
No, I said you next, and then I'm going to.
Okay. Jazakumullahu khairan for a very provocative speech.
Provocative, alhamdulillah.
Provocative, yeah, interesting. Alhamdulillah. In your speech, you mentioned that Muslims of today must be wise in order to communicate with the non-Muslims or Muslims alike. What are some of the steps to acquire such wisdom? Is this you're born with it, or some of us are blessed to have wisdom, or what are some of the steps or your feelings on that? Jazakallah khairan.
I think one of the most important things, Jazakallah khairan, is to study the Quran very carefully, and the Hadith, and especially the history of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he was wise, very, very wise. And I think Muslims ought to ask themselves the question: what period in history are we? How does now compare to the history of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is it similar to his earlier mission in Mecca, or is it more similar to the later mission in Medina? Where are we? You got to analyze it. I think that the more we study collectively, meaning that I think now we have to start organizing our study groups. In Brooklyn, what we have done now is similar to many other groups, is we have divided the masjid up into different units, 6 or 7 in one unit. And what they do, we study together. We talk about some common issues. We study the Quran, we study Sunnah, we study the Sirah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then we look at our conditions and the issues around us to talk about how we're going to do it. That's one thing. Also in New York City, and I can only say from our experiences, alhamdulillah, we now have a Majlis Shura in New York City. We have 23 communities that have joined together as a common group 23 imams or amirs, or presidents of the communities. We meet on a regular basis, maybe twice a month, to talk about issues, plan schools. We have about 8 or 9 full-time schools in New York City. We're trying to mesh them together. We're looking at 3 different properties right now, major properties, where we can take these Muslims out of these storefronts and put schools and put them in a real school with real facilities. So we're doing that now. So I think the more we come together, the more we study together, this hikmah, this wisdom, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give it to us as a result of us trying to follow the pattern of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because I think he's the best example of how to utilize that in order to bring the people of that particular society, inshallah. Now, yourself, and then I read the question. Yes.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Jazakallah khair, Brother Siraj. One of the things that really touched very close to my thinking is when you mentioned about we have to really, when we come to the United States or to this nation here, we have to learn how the system works. We have to really get down to the detail of how can we exist in this society successfully. And one of the things that I think the dilemma that a lot of Muslims from the East comes here is that they always have this in the back of their mind that one day we're going to go back, we're not going to stay here.
Yeah.
And this is really destroying our communities, because that thinking is temporary thinking. And wherever you go as a Muslim, you should always think that you're going to stay. You're going to make the best situation out of what you have and work with it. For example, you mentioned about the Islamic school, which is really a very dear subject to us here, especially in our community. And you tie it with the economical development. It's very, very important. We cannot exist in this country until we have a very strong economic situations in our communities to support small businesses, to support industrial projects, and go on and on and forth. The point is that I think we really need to come out of our shell and come jointly with the Muslims in America or anywhere to come forward and put our effort to really think how we're gonna think about the 90s and beyond, and how can we exist as a community, Muslims among the Jews and the Christians, effectively, and think ahead, and how can we really play this part of the solution that you're talking about, that this is the right time, it's the right situation, let's do it. I think this is very, very important, Akhi. Plus, I have to really say to my dear brothers who came from the Middle East especially, is that we have to really come out of our shell and really exist, and there is nothing really to hide as a Muslim. We are proud to be Muslim, and we have to really come and make our point politically, economically, and socially. And I was in Washington just about 3-4 weeks ago, and I was in a meeting of the NAAA, and it's really sad to see that we should have our agenda clear. We should have the goal clear to us, which is to exist here Islamically and to make effect through on the politicians to hear us loudly and clearly that we are here and we exist and we need to make our point clear. Jazakallah khair.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Let me say this. When you study Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I can imagine some of the Sahaba who would listen to him and talk to him when he mentioned about how close Yawm al-Qiyamah is. Like so close, And you see, if you and I knew that tomorrow will be the day of judgment, we're going to respond a different way. If we know that for sure tomorrow is Yawm al-Qiyamah, we're going to be different. Believe me, this will be the day, the best religious day of our lives. If we know tomorrow will be Yawm al-Qiyamah, right? So alhamdulillah, Allah hid that from us. We don't know when it will be. Tomorrow, next year, 100 years from now, we don't know. Salman Rushdie said he knew the exact date. Now, but the beautiful thing about that, brothers and sisters, is this. Since we don't know when Yom Qiyamah is, we must build every day. One person said it, I think, the best way. Live as if each day is your last, but work as if you're going to be here forever. It's a good philosophy. You know you're not going to be here forever, but you don't know when. So therefore, say, I come from Sudan. I'm coming to America for 4 years. I'm going to go to school, and then I'm going to go back. Well, at least 4 years I have to eat. I have to work. I have to educate my children. Then let me contribute to the Islamic society while I'm here, even if I plan to go back. Because I don't say every Muslim who comes from the East who come here should not go back. No. Some of you, this is whatever your plan is, to come here to get the education. And I think, by the way, I think that's good. There's an old statement. You give a man fish, he eats for a day. You teach him how to fish, he eats forever. So we need to come here to get the keys to go back, not to beg them so that they can give us AIDS. You think about that. The United States give a lot of federal aids to people all over the world. Well, that's another topic. But the point I'm saying here is that you've got to get, there's some things that they can teach us in terms of technology. They can for now. Get that. And some of us are going to go back home to our countries, it's fine. But while you're here, make a contribution for yourself and for the other Muslim community, inshallah. Now I'm going to get yourself, brother. Let me read these questions, two questions, yourself and then yourself, okay? Inshallah. Question. You mentioned that Muslims is the second largest minority in USA. It's the largest minority. Why did not, we don't have even a single senator in the assembly, even though the Jews and Hispanics got some? What are the reasons? Let me say this. I understand the reasons. Muslims have been very reluctant to get into politics. For years I preached, we shouldn't get in politics, politics is corrupt, and so forth and so forth. I got a different thought altogether now. Let me tell you what my thinking is, and again, I know these things are controversial. I've taken on a mission now. My mission is to go throughout America, inshallah, and to try to register every Muslim to vote. I know some Muslims don't like that idea. But brothers and sisters, I've really got an opportunity to think about it. I'm going to share why I think that every Muslim should register to vote and we should get involved in politics. I had an opportunity to go to Trinidad. And you know, Trinidad, alhamdulillah, Muslims are growing rapidly in Trinidad. The Muslims, you know, the anti-drug patrol that we had in New York, the Muslims there in Trinidad, they imitated our patrol and they did the same thing there. Allah bless them in Trinidad. They have, and they told me in 1 month in Trinidad, 1,000 people accepted the religion of Islam. When I was in Trinidad a few months ago, I gave the khutbah in a very large masjid. Guess who sat down there and listened to the khutbah? The president of Trinidad. The president of Trinidad is a Muslim. There are people in Trinidad in the Congress that are Muslim. Now, brothers and sisters, you mean to tell me that if a senator of the United States of America accepted Islam, or someone from the Supreme Court, in the Supreme Court accepted Islam, you don't think that that's good for us? Believe me, it's good for us. My thinking now, brothers and sisters, is that Muslims need to involve themselves in every aspect of the society that's halal. Now, we need to analyze whether it's halal or haram. This is the situation, but every aspect of the society that is halal, we ought to be involved. What do I mean specifically? Right now, you know who the Joint Chiefs of Staff is for the Army? Powell, an African American, first time in history. You know the governor of Virginia? Wilder, African American, first time in history. You know the mayor of New York City? David Dinkins, African American, first time in history. Now, having African Americans in those positions are going to do something for the African Americans. Brothers and sisters, something you may not know, and you have to, believe me, take what I'm telling you. Racism exists in this country, for sure. There's no doubt about it. And not only does racism exist, institutionalized racism exists against black people in this country. You probably don't even realize that right now. but maybe at some other time we need to talk about that. It does exist. But now there are opportunities existing. You know, this same David Dinkins, the mayor of New York City right now, alhamdulillah, who replaced Koch, he gave the Muslims a plaque in respect of the anti-drug patrols that we had. Now you may think that that's a little thing, and it's not much. We had, he called my office once. He heard something that we had a problem with our property. You know, he called our office, the mayor himself called the office, asked Imam Siraj, is everything all right? Is there anything I can do? So when you have people in certain areas, can be effective for you. Now if we had Muslims in these areas, they can do much good if they go in it for the right reason for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I would prefer to have a Muslim, a true Muslim, ahead of the United States Army than an enemy. I would rather have a president of the United States of America, or senator, or congressman, or a Supreme Court judge who's Muslim. Why do I say that? Brothers and sisters, when you get a chance, I want you to read the 40th chapter of the Quran entitled Al-Mu'min. Oh, subhanAllah. Allah is so wise. Remember Pharaoh, Fir'aun. Twice he plotted to kill Musa. Once when Moses was a baby. Kill all the men folk and let the women live. And so when the mother of Moses feared that they were going to kill the baby, she put him in the river, right? In the little boat, or raft, or whatever it was. It went into the castle of the Fir'aun. Now, who convinced Pharaoh not to kill that baby? Imra'atun Fir'aun. The same woman that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, there are only two perfect women. Many perfect men, but two perfect women. One, the wife of Fir'aun, and the other one, Maryam, the mother of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. Now, she convinced them at that time, don't kill the baby, maybe we can get some benefit from him, or maybe we can raise him as a son. Now, when Moses got old, and Pharaoh discovered who he was, he said in the Quran that leave me alone to kill him. And then someone said, La taqtuluhu, don't kill him. Who was that who told Fir'aun, don't kill Moses? Who was it? Listen to what the Quran says. Rajulun min ali Fir'aun. It was a man from the people of Fir'aun, yaktumu imanahu, who hid his faith. It was the same man who was a believer around Pharaoh, but Pharaoh didn't realize that he was a believer. Yet, he gave him advice right there. And brothers and sisters, can you imagine people in the Congress, and there are people, by the way, there are people in the Congress who are Jews, but you don't know it because they hide their faith. But they're there giving advice. Check it out. Check it out. Listen to this. The United States government gives $2 billion a year in foreign aid. $42 billion a year in foreign aid. More foreign aid goes to the state of Israel than any other place. You know this. Now, right now, brothers and sisters, I hate to take your time, honestly, please. Can you give me just 3 minutes on this point? Honestly, I don't want to take, I know that you got a lot of questions and statements, but can I take 3 minutes? Huh? I'm going to take them anyway. But, listen, with things happening all over the world, with the Eastern Europe becoming democratic, Russian breaking down, Panama, Nicaragua, and the different places. So the United States government wants to give this again, aid to these countries, right? Foreign aid, right? Now, and by the way, brothers and sisters, they don't give money to foreign governments because they're nice people. And you have to understand that. See, Muslims are very naive, extremely naive. Oh, America's so nice. She's going to give $500 million to Panama. She's so nice. And she wants to give all this money to Nicaragua. America's so nice. No, America wants to control. America is thinking of money, economics. They're thinking of control. It's the bottom line. We're very naive. So anyway, now, someone among the Congress, they said, we're giving Israel all this aid, Why not just take 5% and divert this money to Eastern Europe? And you know, just 5%, right? Not much. And every year we give $3 billion to the state of Israel. No questions asked. You know something? Them Jews got together with their lobbies and other people in the Congress, and they made that person who made that suggestion look like a jackass. They started laughing and said, how we not going to touch that money? So know what they did? Know the United States money government did? They took the money that was earmarked for Somalia and Sudan. The little bit of money that they gave them, they took that to give to Eastern Europe. Why? Because nobody was there in America to stand up for that and say, we're not going to allow that to happen. And by the way, you got to get this straight, man. That money, the United States government has a $1.2 trillion budget. That money is not theirs. So when we say, get some of that money and send it to Somalia, get some of that money and send it to Ethiopia, that's not their money, that's our money, as citizens of this country. And we got a right to determine where that money goes. But as long as we don't say nothing, we sit back, you see, oh, by the way, let me say this. Brothers and sisters, all Muslims involved in politics in this country. So the question is, are they going to be involved in politics passively or aggressively? Because when you don't say nothing, when they make these moves, you are involved in politics, but you're simply not saying anything. Now the question is, are you going to say something and divert some of this money where it ought to go, or are we going to say nothing? So my position is, yes, only good Muslims who know what Allah's agenda is, they should get involved in politics. And brothers and sisters, yes, run for senator, Congress, yes. Why? Only because you can get in that position to do good. But I do not advocate Muslims who are not clear about their agenda to get involved in politics is disastrous. Because people, you know, they said, brother, I want you to vote for me, I'm going to run for Congress. Yeah, I'll vote for you. Yeah, because I'm Muslim. But we never see him at the masjid. We never see him practicing the Islam. Then he's just like another person. No, we want a person who's going to look out for the interest of justice. Look out for the interest of justice. My position is, brothers and sisters, Muslims who are knowledgeable of themselves ought to get involved in politics for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, some of you, I know that getting involved in politics is not a substitute for jihad. It's not. I think Muslims should continue to develop in every aspect of the Islam. Continue to develop. But understand where you are in history. Understand the strengths and weaknesses of your people locally, collectively, internationally. That's why you need vision. You need insight. You got to think, where are we? And what's the best way to serve the interests of the Muslims right now? I said, yes, we ought to get in politics, but we have to know ourselves, inshallah. How has Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X, contributed to the spread of Islam in the USA? It's an excellent question. Malcolm X, Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, became a very famous Muslim. He started out in a group called Nation of Islam under Elijah Muhammad. 1963, November, John F. Kennedy, President of the United States of America, was assassinated. Malcolm X, under the leadership of Elijah Muhammad, said something negative about John F. Kennedy. And Elijah Muhammad silenced him for a period of time. To make a long story short, in 1964, I think it was February, Malcolm expressed his he separated from the Nation of Islam. He went to Mecca, made Hajj. And when he went to make Hajj, he saw all kinds of Muslims, different colors and things like that. Elijah Muhammad had taught all white people were devils and could not even go to Mecca. And when Malcolm went to Mecca and saw different Muslims, different colors, white, black, all kinds, he understood what the true Islam was, and alhamdulillah, he became a good Muslim. He began to preach the new message of Islam when he got back to the United States of America. And on February 1965, Malcolm was assassinated in the Audubon Ballroom in Harlem. Since Malcolm's death, now Malcolm has become more popular than he ever was before. Allah has remained the love of the people in his heart for Malcolm. And I go to many programs where they talk about Malcolm all over the nation. And again, we use this as an opportunity to remind the people, the man that you love, Malcolm, was a Muslim. Everywhere I go, they say, we want you to say something about Malcolm. See, the problem is, there are two Malcolms. One Malcolm X, who was in the Nation of Islam, and one Malcolm Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, who was a Sunni Muslim. Then we Muslims must make sure that the people get the right Malcolm. You understand what I'm saying? That's why it's important. That's why when they have these programs commemorating the death of Malcolm, I go to give them the right perspective. Because if I don't go, somebody else is going to claim him. The nationalists, the black nationalists, will claim Malcolm, and they will quote Malcolm to get people to follow them, their black nationalism. And we must say, no, Malcolm was a Muslim, and Malcolm believes in Quran. Malcolm believes in Islam, and then let the people see that aspect of Malcolm. I think Malcolm plays a tremendous role in bringing people to Islam, inshallah, in my humble opinion. Yes, you first, you second. Our time is out?
What do you think to that? I would like to shed some light on nationalism. You say, like black nationalism. Please talk about Arab nationalism, Bangladeshi nationalism, Pakistani nationalism.
Inshallah I will, but not now, inshallah. Yes, sir.
My question
Shukran.
regarding the Salman Rushdie again. I felt, that the local communities really administered themselves very good in a Muslim manner. But really I felt, the Muslim leadership really was like trying to outbid what the other group is doing. And I would like to know from you really where the blunders you're talking about that we have committed. Is it here in the United States, or is it from our counterparts?
Good point. Most of it was overseas in my estimation. I think, in my humble opinion, that most of the Muslims in America reacted in a very good way, very positive, very strong way. But I think, but some local communities have, in fact, bombed some presses that had an editorial that was favorable towards Salman Rushdie. That was a mistake. I think it's horrible. I think it's a bad thing to do. I think that because you know why? Can I get your attention, brother and sister? I hear some noise. Because the same newspaper that we would blast one day will write a positive editorial about Islam. The same bookstore that we threatened to blow up carry Islamic books. I know some of those stores, Walden's and some of those other big stores, they have many Muslim materials there. They even have Qur'ans in there. So the mistake here locally is for those kinds of actions that are, to me, repressive and very bad. It doesn't represent the spirit of Islam at all, in my humble opinion. Yes, sir, brother. Excuse me, they told me that this may be the last one. Now, I'm certainly enjoying this, and I think it's good and productive. But let this be the last question. Inshallah, what I'll do next time, inshallah, I'll make my presentation very, very short, and then we can continue with the dialogue, which I think is, to me, the most critical part of these kinds of sessions, is the back and forth dialogue. So please, we let this be the last question for now. Inshallah, my next session, I'll make it very short because I think it deserves that, and then we can have more dialogue, inshallah.
Yeah, I would like to get your perspective on how you would deal with your Sunni Ta'aleem, and how you would be flexible enough to deal with the novice Muslims and the pioneer Muslims. How you
and the what Muslims?
The novice and the beginning Muslims, and then the Muslims have been Muslim for some time.
Okay.
When you're in the Ta'aleem session, how would you be flexible enough to deal with the basics and the advanced needs of the Muslims?
Yes, I think right now one of the most important aspects of us always is communication. You know, brothers, my wife taught me a very valuable lesson. I think many brothers don't like to argue. You know, in my estimation, sisters, please don't get angry at me. It seems to me the sisters are more argumentative than the brothers. I know I'm stepping on toes, I know I'm probably wrong, but I mean in a good way. See, for instance, if my wife does something to get me angry, then I would like clam up. I won't say nothing. So she said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Nothing." But she always taught me that we should communicate. Even if you argue, it's better to argue, get it out. Let me hear your point, and which is good. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He's angry at the civilization, He sends the messengers to communicate with them. It's important to communicate, husband and wife, parents and children, believers and disbelievers. Nations must communicate with one another. And I think we need interpersonal communication. So therefore, I think that the indigenous Muslims, African American and Caucasian Americans, European Americans, need to talk. I think the so-called immigrant Muslims who move and migrate to this country need to talk with the indigenous population. And I think that when we discuss these things, we need to see how to further move the community. I think the process of shura is very important. Mutual consultation. This is critical, and it's in the Quran, and this is what the Prophet did, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so I think that when we have these sessions, ta'aleems and whatnot, we need to discuss, well, where are we going? We need to have some set agendas. And by the way, our political involvement should not be individual. It should be collective. In other words, I do not believe that Muslims ought to get into politics because that's the American thing to do. No. I think Muslims ought to get into politics for our agenda, to bring about our collective agenda. And when the Muslim leadership gets together, and I think that's going to take time, we have to sensitize the people. I think that you should bring speakers in, both Muslims and non-Muslims, to give an idea of what history of America is about, how the political system works, how the economic system works. And then what we will do, brothers and sisters, is give them the Islamic politics, if you would. Give them the Islamic business ethics, see, economic principles. So I think that while we get together and study Quran and Sunnah, which we must, which is our foundation, we must also begin to learn about the economic system, how it works, so that we can move this nation in the places where it ought to be, inshallah. Brothers and sisters, thank you very much, Jazakallah khairan, and I turn the mic over back to my trusted brother, inshallah.
Maybe to summarize the speech of Brother Siraj Wahaj, it was mentioned in the Quran, "Udkhulu alayhim al-bab." This should be the attitude of Muslims regarding their life in the United States. They should knock on the door and let them to work at all levels, education, economics, politics. And inshallah, we'll have a break for almost 15 minutes because we started somehow late this first session. And inshallah, we'll resume at 11 o'clock sharp. And our speaker will be Brother Siraj Wahaj. He will talk about his experience in his war, of Islamic war against drugs, and also a practical example of da'wah will be also given by Brother Tadar Wazir, experience of Muslims in correctional centers. I'd like to thank you all and remind you that there are some books over there, and if you can donate, your donation is welcome. Be here at 11 o'clock, inshallah.